You know you need to learn words to learn a language, but there's so many options that you don't know where to start. In this video, I'm going to talk about 7 different options that you can use based on the fact that they all have daily notifications, new words to give you every day, and they all have some form of spaced repetition. What does that mean? Basically, spaced repetition is an algorithm that keeps track of which words are more difficult for you and which words are more easy for you. So you don't see the easy words as much because you don't need to, and you see the more difficult words more often, so you're more likely to get them in your brain. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video all about different language learning resources and how to know which ones to try. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Jamie and I am a language coach, and I specialize in helping language learners get past their stress and obstacles and figure out how to learn a language in a way that works well for them. First up, let's get Anki out of the way. Anki is one of the most popular apps to do just this, to learn a language and get more vocabulary into your brain. It is not most user-friendly. There's a lot of debate with this one. Anki is highly customizable, and generally, if you like Anki, you love it, and if you don't, you hate it. You can use Anki to get some beginner vocabulary in by going to shared decks and downloading some of the Anki decks that other people have uploaded, and you can customize Anki to do basically whatever it is that you want. Now, Anki is the least user-friendly app that I'm going to be mentioning in this YouTube video, but Anki does have the best spaced repetition that I have seen in most any app. Specifically, I love Anki spaced repetition because every time you go through a card, you report how easy or difficult it was for you. Plus, on the buttons where you say it was easy, good, or difficult, it'll tell you how long it'll wait to show you that card again based on how difficult the card was for you. So for example, if it was difficult, it might show you again in 10 minutes. If it was okay, it might show you again in a day. If it was really easy, it might show it to you in 3 days. So whether or not a word was difficult is completely self-reported, and it'll tell you exactly what it's gonna do with that information, which I love. My next recommendation is Hey Lingo. Hey Lingo teaches you new vocabulary and new phrases in a highly contextual way, so you're not learning vocabulary just one for one. You're learning it in phrases and in sentences and in really fun ways. There are a ton of different collections of vocabulary in each of their like a zillion languages, so you can really choose the ones that match up with what you want to learn. Of course, there's daily notifications, and Hey Lingo helps you to separate the words that are difficult for you and the ones that are easy for you by literally just keeping track of it for you. The words that you get wrong, you can either review all of them put together, or you can specifically review the words that are more difficult for you until you prove to Hey Lingo that you got it. So Hey Lingo bases its spaced repetition, or SRS, specifically on whether or not you get any given word or phrase correct. Pretty simple, but also functional. Next up, we have Lingvist. Lingvist is a beautiful app, I love it to death, that has a bunch of themed vocabulary from beginner all the way up to advanced stuff that you will never say, but if you like to read books, you might find those words in a book. I know this video is about apps that'll give you the vocabulary, but Lingvist also does a really excellent job of helping you to create decks yourself. You can do that by either taking a picture of a page with words on it and it will create a deck specifically off of those words. Or if you, for example, create a deck with words that are vegetables, for example, it'll create you a whole deck based on vegetables. This is a really great way to create vocabulary lists that you might not be able to find necessarily, but you can create yourself. These are pre-made decks, mostly pre-made decks because they require very little effort. And then just like Hey Lingo, Lingvist bases its SRS off of what you get right and wrong. It'll keep track of that and it'll show it to you multiple times if you keep getting it wrong until you get it right. Next up, we have Drops. Drops is an absolutely beautiful app, but Drops has a very low barrier to entry, which means it's really, really easy for complete beginners to get into. Drops has a bunch of different decks for themed vocabulary, and it gives it to you really, really slowly in a really, really attractive way that's really motivating. And of course, with notifications and all that gamification kind of stuff, if you're a beginner, it can really get you sucked in and motivated to keep moving forward, again, with streaks. Part of Drops messaging is that you always have 5 minutes a day, which is true, so it makes it really easy for total beginners to start out with the language, feeling very motivated and feeling very relaxed, thinking, I only need to do it for 5 minutes a day and then I'm fine. And of course, with drops, you'll be matching the new words with imagery and not the translation necessarily, which gets you thinking more abstractly and gets it into your brain in a much more immersive way. And of course, if you get a word wrong on drops, then I'll show it to you again thanks to SRS. How do you like to learn new vocabulary in a brand new language that you just started? Let me know in the comment section below. Another fun way to get in new vocabulary with clean, themed, already curated vocabulary is Mondly. Not only does Mondly keep you notified with daily notifications, but it also has daily, weekly, and monthly quizzes that are all different every single time, which is unique to Mondly. Mondly also connects new vocabulary with imagery, offers chatbots and augmented reality, so you can take those words and start to practice having real conversations with them, which is great for active language skills. Another favorite that I probably don't talk about enough is UTalk. I love UTalk because it makes so many languages accessible that you really can't find anywhere else. Basically, any language you could possibly think of, and then, a whole bunch of other languages that you've never heard of, UTalk has them. Like most of the other apps I'm mentioning, UTalk also provides a bunch of vocabulary based on themes. They have a ton of vocabulary, like more vocabulary than you probably actually need. And it cycles you through different exercises to use the vocabulary in meaningful ways to work on active recall. So it has you speaking them, it has you writing them, it has you picking images based off of what image is connected to the vocabulary. It's great. Like I said, it gets you attacking the language in several different ways so that you can get used to using the language in whatever way you want. Next up is a really popular one, and that is Memorise. Memorise has lists upon lists upon lists of themed vocabulary, again, meant for beginners. What's special is that Memorise also offers video. So it offers video clips of native speakers saying the words and the phrases. So not only are you more engaged in using the language and practicing the language, but you also get used to hearing it and, experiencing it in different ways. So opposed to just having a robot say the words or getting used to a very clearly enunciated speaker using the words, you can get used to listening to native speakers saying the words as they would in everyday situations. It's a little bit more difficult, but honestly more effective because you're gonna have to get used to listening to that eventually. Last but not least, I'm going to mention Fluent Forever. Fluent Forever is a digital flashcard app that's meant specifically for language learners because, Fluent is in the name. Fluent Forever provides a structured approach, giving you curated vocabulary, but it basically does a Google search for you for imagery, so you can pick the imagery that connects best with the words, which means that because you have like a hand in creating the flashcards, it'll make it easier for you to remember. And of course, Fluent Forever will help keep track if the vocabulary is in your short-term memory or in your long-term memory. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, obviously, but the concept is you see it a certain number of times before it gets into your long-term memory, and that's a really important concept, honestly. Just because you can recognize a word once doesn't mean you will be able to recognize it in like 2 weeks. Clearly, there are a ton of options to learn new vocabulary in themed sets and categories that are readily available to you. So how do you choose which one to use? Fortunately, I am excellent at helping language learners figure that out for themselves. If you click the link below in the description box, you can access my free training where I walk you step by step through the process that I take my clients through to help them understand things like this and so many other things. And then, of course, make sure that you're subscribed and you hit the bell to be notified because next week I'm going to talk about learning vocabulary in immersion, which is like the polar opposite of this video, but could also be much more relevant to you if you don't actually want to learn vocabulary with these fun apps. You just want to be able to immerse yourself in the language and pick up vocabulary that way. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.